Okay, we're back. It's been a little over 30 minutes. So I'm going to take my cover off here. You could let this go a little bit longer. You could let it go close to an hour. It's not going to hurt anything. I've made a bowl shape here, a ball, but you could shape it however you wanted. If I wanted to make this long and oval, because I was going to maybe put it on a cookie sheet or a pizza stone, I could have just kind of tightened it up on the sides and made it a little bit longer. You'll see in some of my posts at Everyday Homemaking and on the Everyday Homemaking blog that some of them are the longer loaves. I might have made this into pizza. So I might have divided this into 2 parts and made 2 pizza crusts. And you can find the instructions for making the pizza on our blog at everydayhomemaking.com as well. Now, when I do this, I don't oil my pan. I've got it on the parchment, so I don't need to oil it. When I bake on a stone or a cookie sheet, I also use the parchment or a silicone baking mat. So there's not the cookie sheet, I would use a silicone baking mat. The stone, I would use the parchment just because it's awfully hot on that stone at this temperature. But again, I'm not oiling the pan. So I know some of you have asked about using all wheat flour, and a lot of my breads I do make totally whole wheat. My preference for whole wheat or whole grain is going to be a hard white wheat because for my family, they just like it better. It's not got as heavy a wheat taste to it. I'll also sometimes mix that partly with kamut or spelt or millet or all of the above. Millet doesn't have gluten in it, so in order for it to rise, then you're going to want your loaf to be at least 3/4 wheat, millet, spelt, something along those lines. I'm sorry, wheat, kamut, or spelt, something that will have some gluten, some development for it. But mine are generally going to be about, when I do whole grains, I'll often nowadays do 2/3 whole grain, 1/3 white unbleached, always unbleached all-purpose. Anyway, so we've got that here. So here's our loaf. I do not have a lom. At one of these times I'm going to buy myself one, but I'm just going to score this with a knife so that it can rise up. I don't usually do an X, but I'm going to do that for you guys. So it can rise up through here. And I'm going to, you're not going to be able to see this because I can't move my camera, but I'm going to pick this up. Let me see if I can get the camera over here. I'm going to try turning this around. Sorry, guys. I'm not good at this thing yet. Okay. You can see my mess right here. So there's the oven. So use a pot holder. The tendency is to forget that this is hot when you take it out. So I'm just going to use a pot holder. 2 pot holders. Take this out. Pick up the whole parchment and just drop the whole parchment down inside. Kind of untuck it a little bit so it doesn't have big folds in it. Put the lid back on. And stick that in the oven. I will now set my timer. Alexa, set a timer for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Starting now. All right, so that's all there is to that. I've set it for 20 minutes. I'm going to come back in 20 minutes, take the lid off, and then leave the lid off for about 15 minutes. Now I'm going to clean up this mess because I don't like to leave a flour mess on the counter. Well, as soon as I'm finished, I try to clean up. So I'm just taking my Norwex cloth here, and actually you can scrape up the excess if you wanted to with your bench scraper. So clean up that excess flour. And then I'll just take my Norwex dishcloth, and it just makes quick work of wiping up the flour. You see here, it's just put that flour up here, and I've got some dough stuck here. This isn't flour, this is dough where I had that sticky dough earlier. So I'm just going to take a bench scraper and scrape that off. But as far as the flour itself goes, when you've got a flour mess, this Norwex dishcloth just cleans that up like nothing. All done. All right, so we'll see you back in 20 minutes.